Welcome in, everyone. First week of fantasy playoffs is in the books, unless you are in a very special league that they are starting the final matchup this week, which Eric is in that league with me, and we won't get too much into that. But if this is your first time joining us, this is the Next Man Up podcast. I'm Matt at Fantasy Ferret on Twitter. I'm an athletic trainer, which means I work in the sports medicine field. That's pretty much all I do is sports injuries all day, every day for a high school. And I'm joined by two of my physical therapist buddies. Eric, how are things going? And how many leagues are you still alive in?
Oh my gosh. I've got two leagues of destiny that are in opposite directions. My Dynasty Superflex League, I was blessed with a bye week, but it's a Superflex League, and I was sporting Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Mike White. So I'm out. I have no more options to play in one quarterback spot.
So QB injuries are your fault this year. That's all I just heard.
Yeah, I was the Midas touch. I've cursed everyone.
Fair enough. Richmond, how are things going with you, and how many leagues are you still alive in?
Everything's going pretty good. I'm still alive in 4 leagues, one of which I thought I was done for, but apparently it's a 2-week playoff league. No idea. Yeah, wasn't paying attention there, but I was like, wait, why does it say I'm still playing? So I'm down 40 points there. So that's the league I dominated all year, then got crushed first round. My other team, where I dominated all year, crushed first round. The leagues where I thought I wasn't any good, I'm somehow still alive. So, although we'll talk about it later, but got some Jalen Hurts decisions to make.
Yeah, it's not looking too good for him, but yeah, we'll definitely get into that later. Well, I'm still alive in 6 leagues, I think. 2 out of my 3 redraft leagues I'm still alive in, so that's important to me. The other one I didn't even make the playoffs, so that sucks. But anyway, let's review real quick our kind of flag plants last week. Brock Purdy and Kittle really came through.
Hot fire.
Hot fire. Paris Campbell, not so much. Turns out Pittman was the correct answer. And turns out that they are done with Matt Ryan.
Yeah, that's looking like a career ender after blowing that lead.
Yeah, and he didn't help them get that lead really either. It was like all defense nonsense that happened, and then
that was the craziest game.
Like, because I just remember I was keeping track of it. I wasn't able to watch it live, but I saw that they were up 33-0, and I was like, oh my God, like Pittman must have went off for me, or someone went off. And then it's like, well, actually Jonathan Taylor's injured. Pittman's not really doing much. Campbell's not really. And it's like, how did they get these points?
Yeah, I was watching that game, and so I saw the JT injury. I saw the wildness that was happening, and then I didn't bet at halftime, but I bet while Minnesota was down. And I just bet money line that they would come back, and it landed, because it was like, there's no way that Minnesota plays like this with all of these obscurities for another half. I mean, they have a long road to go to win, but like, holy crap, they can't be this bad.
Yeah. I mean, it ended up being the largest NFL comeback of all time.
Yeah.
And now it's like Matt Ryan's been on the opposite end of like 4 of the top 5 largest comebacks or something like that. Like,
sucks so bad to have that to your namesake.
I don't get it. Anyway, that's enough about that awful game. I guess let's get into it. And we'll start with the Thursday night game where the Jags and Jets are going to go at it. Unfortunately, Mike White's still out with the rib injury. Apparently last week he asked like 10 different doctors to clear him or something like that, and none of them would. So that's kind of impressive that many doctors, not at least one, would say, oh, okay, yeah.
I also just don't think that's how that system works.
I don't either, but that's what he said. So
I'm sure he did ask 10 people. He's probably texting people, sending Twitter DMs.
Yeah. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I was about to say.
We'll edit this part out. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so Zach Wilson's show I mean, are we playing Zach Wilson? Jags aren't the best defense in the world.
Zach Wilson, decent fantasy quarterback, terrible real life quarterback.
What do you mean decent fantasy quarterback?
He's at least putting up over 20 points a game. So you could do
Of
worse.
late, yeah.
Of late, yes.
Well,
of late, yes.
as our resident, Jags fan, does he have a shot against this defense?
I've been seeing a lot of things about weather being a big factor in this game. Potentially windy and maybe rainy. So it might be more of a ground game. So I think that could definitely be a big factor into it. The Jags defense has definitely been picking it up. I mean, Rayshon Jenkins last week with the 2 interceptions, including the game sealing.
Yeah, Noah Brown, just catch the freaking ball.
Our young rookie cornerback's been on fire. I mean, they have a decent secondary. Trayvon Walker, our number 1 draft pick, on the line, like he's out for another game with an injury. So it's hard to say. I think the Jags are catching fire at the right time. So it's hard to say what it would be.
A mixed bag.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence looks great.
Yeah.
It didn't look like that toe was bothering him against the Cowboys.
No, not at all. I mean, and my boy Zay Jones single-handedly saved me in one league from doom. So
yeah, Zay Jones is kind of good.
Sneaky good.
Yeah, but I'm worried about Zay Jones this week though. I mean, the Jets they have a good defense. Sauce Gardner is unbelievable this year. And I mean, Rich, I don't know if you saw, but the Jags they walked away from that big victory with a bunch of damage to their O-line. I mean, I think 2 are already listed as out and 2 are listed as questionable. And it's Wednesday.
Cam Robinson's done for the season with a meniscus injury. Our right tackle he was out of the game with a hamstring injury, but I think he came back into the game. So we're gonna have our second-year guy Walker Little out there at left tackle, and he's somebody who they drafted with a 2-year development. Maybe he could come in there and take one of those tackle positions next year. So it'll be interesting, especially if this is a weather-controlled, more of a run-the-ball kind of game.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw this, but Sauce Gardner was not happy about last week because he was not targeted at all. And
that's crazy for a rookie.
He took that. I mean, it's kind of a sign of respect, like, hey, we're not throwing at you. But he was angry about it, which is kind of funny.
I mean, I don't know what he wants to happen.
Don't. Yeah. Here's the thing: you gotta let up a big play every now and then. That way they'll throw at you. The Trayvon Diggs approach.
This game to me just screams like temper your expectations, especially at quarterback. With the weather and with the injuries and just the matchup. It's I don't think that we'll see the ceilings with these quarterbacks that we've seen last week.
That's fair. All right, let's move on from the Jets Jags. So it turns out we got a Saturday slate of games this week, which I personally was not aware of until making or looking at the show docs and everything like that. I was like, wait a minute, Saturday is all the games? So it doesn't change too much for us, but it actually gives us a little bit more information this week than we normally have when we're recording, because Tuesday and Wednesday have been practice report days for teams. So that's nice. First up, we got Bills versus Bears. And really the only bit of news is Khalil Herbert is returning from IR. So Eric, what do we think about that?
I mean, it's huge in terms of the weapons on the Bears offense because, pretty much every one of their wide receivers that's worth mentioning is injured or out, definitely. I think they're down to a healthy N'Keal Harry. So, it's going to be the Justin Fields and anyone in the backfield show.
Triple option.
What percentage of Justin Jefferson is a healthy N'Keal Harry?
I think a N'Keal Harry is like the turf that won't get out of Justin Jefferson's cleat. That's like Like if that gives you any indication of comparison value. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say coming off IR, but they could sure use him.
Yeah, I mean, it just adds in another good running back to the mix of David Montgomery and Justin Fields, and now it's just kind of getting split another way. So, so really, I mean, that's it for that game. Short and sweet. I like it.
Love it.
Saints versus Browns. Amari Cooper has been limited with a hip issue. He's still getting the targets, but hasn't. I mean, Deshaun Watson's been bad. So it's been kind of tough for that offense as a whole right now. Add in that Nick Chubb has this foot injury that he's dealing with, and he was not participant yesterday. He's a not participant today. I mean, Richmond, how are we feeling about just, I guess, the Browns as a whole and their offense?
I would say the Browns are a tough one to touch. I mean, Nick Chubb hasn't exactly helped me out in the giggles. Nick Chubb hasn't exactly helped me out the last couple weeks with his fantasy performances. And then Deshaun Watson has just not been great in his return. I think that time off has really not helped him.
Yeah, you're right, and I think for that reason, like, Kareem Hunt is not going to be my flag plan of the week. I think he would be an easy flag plan of the week with Chubb not practicing, and Kareem Hunt being a very viable running back. But like, if Nick Chubb, who's one of the best pure, runners in the league, is going to suffer in this offense because of Deshaun Watson, then it makes it hard to trust a guy like Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, it does. And I think people are just going to automatically assume Chubb's out, plug in Kareem Hunt, and I think that's going to be a mistake. Like,
yeah, that's my thought exactly. I think that's a trap for Kareem Hunt.
I would rather avoid him and not play him, and then if he does go off, oh well, then be on the other side of it and assume he's going to have this amazing game that, even to Richmond's point, Chubb hasn't really been having amazing games lately. So
yeah, I mean, you would think that Deshaun Watson usually works pretty well with the Chubb. So
no.
Where's the edit button?
Where's the edit? We do not condone Deshaun Watson's activities, but that was a good one.
It had to be. It had to get out. We're all chuckling. All right, I feel better.
All right. We're good. Anyway, on the Saints side of it, though, Troutman's limited participant both days with an ankle injury. I mean, we're probably leaning on playing Troutman anyway, so I don't think we need to spend much time on him, except for it boosts Jawan Johnson if Troutman is out. And I like Jawan Johnson. He's actually helped me in a few leagues get to the semifinals. I mean, I know the tight end position isn't great anyway, but he's been kind of a bright spot for it. I mean, it's not like he's lighting the world on fire per se, but he's been a solid tight end for everyone.
For sure. I mean, in a landscape, for the tight end scene that is so scarce, Jawan Johnson is the oasis. I mean, I got him off of waivers in this fantasy week. This week he's still on waivers for me, and I don't know if I'll play him. I have Kittle, but he's been a huge value to those that waited in the draft or picked him up on free agency. He's been a touchdown machine, and this is an offense that's been devoid of talent outside of Chris Olave. So I mean, he's been fantastic, and I'm considering, in a league, finding a place to play him on my roster.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's maybe a handful of tight ends that you can say for sure you would play above him. Maybe even only one.
This year's been a pretty rough year for tight ends. I mean, even Mark Andrews without Lamar Jackson is. I've had hard debates past couple of weeks about whether I start somebody else over Mark Andrews. Honestly, Kittle too. Kittle
That's
went off
fair.
last week, so but tight end has been a hard position to fill this year.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's been Travis Kelce or bust this
Yeah,
year.
I mean, there's no big names other than Travis Kelce. He's
Yeah.
consistent week to week.
But real concern here for Olave not participating yesterday or today. I didn't see what the injury was. What's he
I think it's
dealing with?
hamstring.
And we don't like them hamstring injuries, especially
Yeah.
Eric.
Yeah, it's bad, and to have 2 DNPs in a row, we're still on. He's going to be playing or should be playing on Saturday, so he's really only got 2 more days left to get this thing in check. Rest is exactly what he needs, but like we see this injury take out wide receivers so easily. So I think if Chris Olave is out, it only boosts Jawan Johnson and newcomer Rashid Shaheed, who's been a spot play. And his snap count has been rising over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and technically the Saints are still kind of in the playoff hunt, but I mean, I feel like their expectations have to be really low at this point, and they don't want to be risking their young receiver for a chance to go get blown out in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
sure.
I think they don't want this to become a Kadarius Toney, issue, a Debo issue.
For sure, for sure. Texans versus Titans. So, I mean, Texans have been playing well past couple weeks. Took Chiefs to overtime. Cowboys had to have a game-winning drive against them in the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans have been playing well as a team, fantasy wise. Not touching any of them, but
Well, I should have played Davis Mills over Justin Herbert last week. That's for sure.
Oof. Ouch.
Maybe would have won.
That's a tough reality.
Yeah. Davis Mills, the one we all know as the rushing quarterback.
Okay.
3 touchdowns.
Crazy happens. I mean, yeah, the Texans. I saw Brandon Cooks is off the injury report with that calf injury. So I mean, that's good for him. Nico's apparently still dealing with some stuff. Are we wanting to play any of the Texans wide receivers here, guys? Even Brandon Cooks?
I would question if Chris Moore isn't another spot play. If you're in a pinch. I mean, the Titans have been one of the league's best pass funnels as a defense, and we've seen the Texans, support fantasy production, and that's a low bar, but that's where we're at with the Texans. So I think Chris Moore has the opportunity to produce this week.
Now, do we think the Titans are a pass funnel because they go against Derrick Henry in practice and they're like, dang, we get ran on so much. We need to stop that. When in reality, most teams don't have a Derrick Henry. Is that a fair theory?
I think it's just a poorly managed team.
I'd say let's keep that as a theory.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Titans. Ryan Tannehill was dealing with his ankle injury. He's not participating. He did play through it. I
think
mean,
it's all he's going to be done for the season.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
I saw it circulating, but I don't know if I saw it from an official source.
Oof.
Where did you see it, Rich? Just on the Twitterverse?
I saw it somewhere more official looking. Pro Football Talk says he's very likely out for the season.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That would be a big blow to the Titans as a whole. And especially for this next person that should be returning this week, Treylon Burks. He's back to full participation this week from his concussion, which is great for him. But if Ryan Tannehill's out, I don't want to play Burks at all.
Yeah, that's a pretty big blow. I was really hoping to be able to fire Burks up again because he was producing pretty well
the
last few weeks before his concussion. So with Tannehill out, I don't know if I trust Malik Willis to get the ball to Burks.
I mean, in Malik Willis's 2 starts, he played 100% of the snaps as quarterback. He threw for 10 passes and for 16 passes. This is like below Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota territory.
They don't want him to throw at all. They're
Well,
like, please no.
Maybe it's not his strength.
Yeah, maybe just hand the ball to Derrick Henry.
You know,
sounds like a good
quarterback is great.
Sounds like a good game plan. Yeah, I think if Tannehill is out for the season, Burks is probably going to struggle these last few weeks. And I think he really becomes a buy low target in dynasty leagues going into next year. Because he's shown flashes. He's improved as the season gone on. He's dealt with some injuries, unfortunately. But, I mean, I think people would be willing to – what's crazy about this is I think people would be willing to sell Burks plus for Jameson Williams when Jameson Williams hasn't even really shown much this year, coming off of his ACL injury.
I think that's true. I mean, on Keep Trade Cut, I was just peeking, and Jameson Williams has risen to wide receiver 14 over Drake London and Devonta Smith.
Which is kind of insane.
Yeah, he
hasn't done anything since he's returned.
Yeah, so I think that's true. Definitely, that you could definitely swap JMO for Burks plus. And the narrative, I think, still swirls around Burks that he's a gadget guy, and you know what he did in college was really just college production. And that's because we haven't really seen a complete game from him.
Right.
So I think you're right that he's a good buy low target.
Yeah. No, I think so. And we'll talk more about Jameson Williams later when we get to the Lions. But first, let's go to the Seahawks versus Chiefs. Kenneth Walker returned from his ankle injury. I didn't get to see the game live. Did either of y'all get to see it?
I watched it, and it was the 49ers defense just had the Seahawks offense on their heels the entire game, like from start to finish. It was really like watching Minnesota play the Colts in the first half. You're just like, this is hardly a game, you know. Right. And it was just I don't know. I don't think you can really chalk up, you know, Ken Walker's mediocre return from injury due to the ankle itself. I think that was just an offensive struggle.
That's fair. He's a non-participant yesterday and today, though. So, Richmond, are we concerned with Kenneth Walker? He definitely gets an easier matchup this week versus the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, it's
with his jams.
I've been read into it enough. If it's just like precautionary, like, okay, we got through 1 week, now let's be careful going to the next week, I think it's probably something to keep an eye on. But if he looks like has an option to play, I mean, I think that he's a must play. I mean, wasn't a great week for him, but he still put up decent yards on the ground and in the air in total. So if he plays a softer defense, I think he's a good play.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning Tyler Lockett's now out with he broke his index finger. They're saying there's a possible week 17 return. He did have surgery on it. We have seen people in the past kind of return fairly quickly from broken fingers, but I mean,
just get a pin in it.
I assume so. I haven't seen what the
it would make sense. I mean, they called it a spiral fracture, so I think the pin would fly, but he'll be back. I think, you know, late season. I think fantasy purposes, he's not really viable anymore.
Done.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, it's worth kind of seeing how they do without him. I know they're on the cusp of playoff hopes, but they lose this week, and then as he's not ready to return next week, they lose again. I mean, he's probably not returning that last game of the season just to not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Marquise Goodwin, sneaky start.
I think so. I mean, I'm a big Marquise Goodwin fan. And I think he's a good speedster for their offense. I mean, for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and he's shown up, you know, in place of DK Metcalf this year already. He's shown that he can be a good spot play.
Agreed. Noah Fant, non-participants with a knee injury yesterday and today. We've talked about the tight end position. I don't think anyone's really looking to play Noah Fant,
We hope
but
not.
maybe Will Disley becomes maybe a target for you if Noah Fant can't go. With Tyler Lockett out, Noah Fant out, assuming Noah Fant's out, I mean, Will Disley could catch a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's really what you're hoping for. Is he's got to score a touchdown to be relevant to your team. But it might push the needle more towards what Richmond was saying, Marquise Goodwin, and
Yeah.
and DK.
Yeah. I like Marquise Goodwin. Kadarius Toney, Richmond, I'll turn it over to you. He's full participant, so he should be good to go. But are you concerned with possibly McCole Hardman coming back?
I'm a very big not McCole Hardman fan. So I mean, I'd be more concerned about still just, that hamstring potential can flare up any time for Tony. But I mean, playoffs might be a hard spot to really give him that start. I don't think he's starting for any of my playoff teams because I was not lucky enough to have him bless my roster. So,
Or were you lucky enough to not have him bless your roster?
I probably would have played him like an idiot like every week. So it's
Fair enough.
But I mean, I like Tony more than Mecole Hardman as just like an actual NFL player.
That's fair. That is definitely fair.
I think Mecole Hardman, they're trying to recreate Tyreek Hill in the drafting for a speedster, and I just don't think that he's that
Not
player.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
It's tough. Tough noogies. Anyway, Giants versus Viking. No news really, or no new news. I mean, obviously, Giants wide receiver core is still beat to hell, but that's nothing new.
Yeah.
So unless y'all have got something really for this game, we can move on from it.
Let's move on.
All right, moving on. Bengals versus Patriots. Ramondre looked good coming back from that ankle injury, and I played Miles Sanders over him like an idiot.
Oof.
Luckily, still moved on somehow. But Eric, what do we think of Ramondre?
Stud. I think anytime that he's in line to start, you fire him up.
I agree. And is Damian Harris still dealing with something?
I think he's limited still with the thigh, but that's an upgrade from DNP out.
That's true. And I think even if Damian Harris goes, you're not worried. You're playing Ramondre.
For sure.
As long as he doesn't.
What was that, Richmond? Sorry.
As long as he doesn't start any more chains of backward laterals.
That was terrible.
People want to blame Jacoby for that, but that was 100% Ramondre's fault for even initiating it.
Right.
Yeah, you don't start hot potato unless you want to finish hot potato.
Right.
I think Harris is just like, oh shit, we're doing this? All right.
Eric, I must have missed this memo.
Eric, as our resident rugby guy, what did you feel about that?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was so entertaining. I was watching it. I was jumping up and down.
Oh my God.
It was the best entertainment. Like, if there's any sort of sense of the NFL is rigged for the entertainment for the fans, like, that was a great example.
I mean, it was one of the craziest endings I've ever seen. That's for sure. I mean,
Bill Belichick loved it.
Bill Belichick, he has drafted or picked up a lot of undrafted dudes who have history playing rugby. So I'm surprised that they don't employ more of those rugby guys specifically on plays like this.
Belichick is a big rugby and lacrosse.
He is.
The scrappy white guy sports.
5'8" white guys.
Yeah.
Eric, how tall are you?
5'10".
I watched I think it was a YouTube video where they did like a short sketch where they had like a DK Metcalf looking guy and he ran a 40 and it had Bill Belichick standing there. And he's like, "How fast was that?" And they were like, 4.3. And he's like, "No, no." And then it had like this short little white guy run it, and it was like, "How fast was that?" And they were like, 4.8. He was like, "Him. I want him. Bring him on."
That's
It was
funny.
pretty good. All right. Lions versus, I missed T. Higgins. Full participant this week. So unless he re-aggravates that hamstring again, looking like T. Higgins going to be good to go.
Yep.
All right. Lions versus Panthers. Let's get into Jameson Williams. I think he's played 3 games this year so far, coming off his ACL.
2?
2?
No,
2.
because he played 1 where he only got like 5 snaps.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
Second game, he got the touchdown.
Okay, yeah. I think he was in on the victory formation for his first game. So,
Gotcha. So technically 3 games.
He was active but not playing.
Of those 3, he has 1 catch for 40 yards and a touchdown, or around that.
And what? I think 2 targets?
Maybe 2 targets. So are we feeling Jameson Williams? Are they just kind of trying to get him back in the groove, or what do we think there? Richmond, I'll start with you because I'm kind of baffled by it.
Without having like watched his usage, I'd say he's probably still working his way back into the groove. I mean, he's not anybody I would trust in a fantasy format until he's actually been in a game and had the ball in his hands more than the 0 times that he's had the ball in his hands.
The math checks out.
The one long. What do you have? He's had like 1 really long catch,
and it was a blown coverage.
Yeah, it was like it's wow. He got so open, but it's like no, it was just.
Yeah, it almost feels like at this point they're just trying to use this year to kind of work him back slowly into this is what it feels like to play football, buddy.
Yeah,
kind of like not really trying to.
Yeah, I watched a good bit of that game, not all of it, and the feeling was just that like here's a guy who hasn't practiced with us, who hasn't gotten a chance to develop. Like if we're gonna have him out there, let's just have him run routes that he ran at Bama.
Right.
Just get out there, go deep, get open. And like it worked.
And the Lions, they're on a winning streak right now. So they're trying not to kind of ruin what they got going on. So you don't really want to take a step back and try to work in someone, to your point, that hasn't practiced with them.
Yeah. And I think it's opened the field up a lot, spread the field really for Amon-Ra St. Brown and other players like that. And they did take another deep shot at JMO against the Jets, and the ball was underthrown. Otherwise, it would have been a clean touchdown for like 40 plus yards. So I think, in terms of fantasy purposes, I dropped him off my redraft league team. I think he's just going to be, 1 or 2 target guy for a couple deep shots in 2022. But 2023, his route tree should open up, is my feeling.
Yeah, that makes sense. DeAndre Swift was a full participant last week, not on the injury report so far. This week, last week was his worst game of the season with being a full participant. I think he still had like 9 targets, though. I mean, are we feeling DeAndre Swift a little bit more this week versus the Panthers than last week versus, the Jets?
He's so shaky. I mean, his usage compared to the other running backs was good, like very good, and he was hyper efficient with what he got, but the volume just isn't there. He's playing like 40% or less of the snaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue for me is, like Eric said, it's less of who they're playing and more of what he actually gets and his opportunity. I mean, definitely a better situation against the worst team than the Jets defense for him to get the ball. But for him, I mean, there's so many other factors I feel in what he actually does with the ball or when he gets the ball.
Yeah, I agree. The only other thing really in this game I think worth mentioning is J.C. Horn, the cornerback for the Panthers, says he's going to play this week. So maybe the Panthers defense is a little bit better than we think because he's actually a pretty good corner.
Yeah, he's very good.
So, but we'll see. Lions hopefully can keep that win streak going and maybe sneak into the playoffs. I think that'd be fun. Moving on, Falcons versus Ravens. Lamar still not practicing. Our boy Devin Duvernay broke his foot in practice.
Rest in peace, sweet
So,
prince.
I mean, he's already gone on IR.
But the Lizard King is back.
The Lizard King returns from the dead.
Crawling from the
with
sewers.
his cold-blooded heart to take the place of Devin Duvernay.
It's only right. I mean, only the Lizard King could adequately replace Devin Duvernay.
It's so fitting. It's so fitting. I love it. I love it. Either of y'all playing Sammy Watkins this week?
No.
Or ever again?
No,
I didn't think so. Let's see. Caleb Huntley out on IR with an Achilles injury. Caleb Huntley himself wasn't really bringing a lot of fantasy value, but I think this opens it up a lot more for Tyler Algier, who kind of did really, really well last week. I doubt anyone was playing him. I'd still be kind of scared to play him, but I think he can do worse than Tyler Algier at this point. Richmond, do you disagree? Do you agree?
I think I just dropped him in one league when I had to make a desperation cut. So I had a good room of running backs in that league. But I just don't think that. I mean, his last game probably showed me that I shouldn't have cut him, but it's been hard to trust him the entire season to really put up numbers until this last year. Or last week. So as long as he continues to get those targets and those rushes, I think that he's a good play. Yeah. But
there could be a Jonathan Taylor owner out there right now that is going to be desperate to have someone in his running back spot. And this is a running back that might be on waivers. Well, maybe not now, but could have been on waivers and been able to start and playing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I just dropped him last week before this game where he went off. So he's available in that league, or was. I didn't even see if anybody picked him up.
Yeah. So. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I am a Cordell Patterson owner in a redraft league, and I have not dropped Cordell Patterson, to your point of being unsure about this backfield. I mean, Baltimore this week, Baltimore ranks, in the bottom 3 for favorable matchups against running backs. So I think he's a tough play this week, and he might scare off a few fantasy managers with a dud week. But he does get Arizona in week 17, and that would be a lot of people's fantasy championship. So he might be a solid hold.
This game might feel like a running clock at times because the Ravens are only going to run it with Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and we know the Falcons only like to run it. So this might be the quickest game in NFL history right here.
Thank God, because it'll also be the most boring. Seriously.
You mean you don't want to watch Desmond Ridder and
Tyler Huntley?
Is Tyler Huntley playing this week?
I think he is, yeah.
Okay. We see how important he is to us. We didn't even put him in our show notes.
Whatever.
Poor Tyler Huntley. Anyway, let's move on to the Commanders versus 49ers. Kittle, our man, last week came through. Ayuk did not come through, but I think that's just I think that was by design. Didn't we talk about that? How we didn't think Ayuk would get the targets that game?
Yeah. I mean, the prelude to that conversation was Brock Purdy publicly saying, or maybe it's Ayuk who spread the word, but Purdy, I guess, said, Ayuk, I'm going to feed you the ball. And that might have gotten a few dynasty or fantasy managers excited. Ayuk walked away with 4 targets, 2 catches, 19 yards. So
he fed him. He just has a small stomach.
Had a little. It was like a charcuterie board of stuff for him.
That sounds nice.
Love a good charcuterie board. Anyway,
Edit button.
Yeah.
Debo still out. CMC still limited. We were kind of expecting both those things. On the other side of it, Antonio Gibson, limited participant with this foot injury, apparently, but probably going to play. Probably don't really want to play him versus his 49ers defense.
Yeah. If I had anyone else, I'd choose them. Algier, maybe.
I was about to say Tyler Algier.
Yeah. Yeah. It's come to that point in the season. I would play Tyler Algier over Antonio Gibson.
I agree there. Oh, what about over Brian Robinson?
Tyler Algier over Robinson?
Yeah.
Man.
I think a little sing song there.
I think I would choose Brian Robinson just for the guarantee of volume if I was between the two. And Robinson, he's been decent, when called upon.
I think I would agree with that. I mean, Tyler Robinson has had the volume over the weeks. Doesn't get very many receiving targets, but he gets he's been pretty solid over like 15 rushes, I think.
You know what? Screw it. I'd go Algier.
All right. Did you know that Brian Robinson has more 100-yard games than Najee Harris?
Yes.
Interesting.
Najee Harris, not good. I think I said this 2 weeks ago. I said something along the lines of Najee Harris hasn't touched like 100 yards at all this season.
He has not, and hardly last season even.
Speaking of Najee, do we think that foot injury, preseason foot injury, bothered him more than we kind of thought it would this year? Or has it just kind of been a smorgasbord of that and the offense changeover with the QB position, just everything?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the whole team really. I mean, the defense is starting to put it back together a little bit, I think, but overall, that whole offense has just been a mess between different starting quarterbacks and his injuries. I think it's just been a whole mess.
Well,
yeah, I'm with you.
I'm still on the side of it that sorry, Eric, that if
what side are you on?
It's only because he was a first-round pick. If he would have been a late third or later, I think people would have been happy with Najee this year.
Yeah, I'm wholeheartedly, on that side of the fence. I think that it would have been really silly for us to say that this preseason, matter of weeks, injury to Najee's midfoot had no role in his inefficiency early in the season. And I think that his numbers have picked up. That's clear. But really, like this year, his opportunities have really gone by the wayside. Like I think Kenny Pickett has rushed 44 times, vultured a few touchdowns. Jalen Warren is getting far more opportunities than Benny Snell ever did last season. I think Warren's up to like 80 opportunities already. And Benny Snell on the season last year, I think, had close to 40. So, Najee's opportunities have really plummeted. And he's never been an efficient runner, but to your question, Matt, like he's not that bad as he was early in the season when he was clearly hobbled by the foot.
Yeah, currently he's listed with his hip. I mean, it's just been one after another for him, I feel, on top of everything else.
Yeah. You know what? Let's just jump into the Raiders versus Steelers right now, since we're on the Najee. Like to your point, Richmond, he's got a hip injury right now that he's limited with. We've already kind of talked about the foot issue. I mean, like I said, there's worse plays at running back, but are you feeling good about playing Najee? Keep in mind, the Raiders are pretty poo-poo across the board in the NFL. So,
yeah, I would have to. I don't know. He got a lot of volume last game, so I'd have to consider it if he were to go.
Yeah, worth mentioning. Pickett's going to be back this week. He's a full participant yesterday, so he's coming back from that concussion. So, I mean, you're not really excited to play anybody really with the Steelers right now, I don't think. But
I don't think so.
In other news, Waller and Renfro were back from the Raiders. Waller actually did fairly well. So I think we've talked about the tight end position a lot. I think if he's on waivers or you can pick him up, he's probably a better play at tight end than most tight ends, except for Kelsey, maybe Kittle, and Jawan Johnson, our favorite. But what do you guys think, Eric? What do you think about Waller?
I think that he's a classic case of the injury discount. I mean, he's clearly got talent when he's on the field. The question, I don't think that was ever in question. The question was he ever going to come back? And the narrative behind that really made it, pessimistic. But he is back, and I think that if he's ready to roll, then he's clearly a big target on this offense. So you have to play him.
For sure. For sure. Well, let's get into the really big injury of the week that we are now 45 minutes into our show, and I don't think we've talked about it yet at all. Hurts and the Eagles. Hurts is hurt. He sprained his shoulder. Now, we've kind of talked about shoulder sprains before, and that can mean a few different things. I haven't seen the play. Is this like an AC joint issue that for his throwing shoulder? Do either of y'all have an idea, or is it just kind of a generic thing?
I've seen AC joint
Okay.
the most, I think, listed out. I don't know that's the official word, but I've seen AC joint listed as the most common.
It sure looked like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the big body defender land right on top of his shoulder like that, driving it into the ground.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty classic AC joint. My AC joint was backyard wrestling, having somebody slam through my shoulder in a similar fashion. So,
was it a run play that he got injured on? Because all the talk shows I've listened to this week have been talking about, well, this is the problem with running QBs is they always get hurt. And
I feel like he was just rolling out.
Right.
But man, I mean, I think that this whole like Konami code, he did. I just watched the clip. He did take it like 2 yards upfield, and the defender landed on him. But like this whole argument or fear, really, that like Konami code quarterbacks are more injured than any other quarterbacks, and they just have inherent risk. Like I think it's just a contact sport. Like you can easily list, I think, close to 30 or maybe in the 20s quarterbacks this year who have gotten injured.
Matt Ryan had a shoulder injury early in the year. Matt Ryan's not running the ball at all.
Yeah, I mean, like we could go through the list here, but like I think the reality is just that like athletes on the field who hold the ball get hit. Mike White took massive hits in the pocket and he's out. So, I think you play to win the game, and Konami code quarterbacks get you way more points, way easier than pocket passers. So I think if you want to win fantasy, you draft the Konami code guys and you don't cry when they get hurt, because everyone can get hurt.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean everyone can get hurt in football?
Oh yeah. It's almost like it's a contact sport.
No, that's ridiculous. I think you can rate them on a 0 through 10 scale and let it be known what their injury risk is.
Mm-hmm. We'll edit this shade out.
No shots being fired at a certain person. That shall not be named. Anyway, Packers versus Dolphins.
What do you think Ocho Cinco's up to tonight?
Packers versus Dolphins. Mostert is him. That's all I know. Mostert is him.
Yeah,
100 yards in the first quarter? Like, it was ridiculous. I mean, it helps when Jeff Wilson's out, and I know he's limited this week and close to playing. Might play this week, but I think you can, and versus the Packers defense, I mean, I think you're sticking with Mostert going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Mostert's my guy. I love Mostert. I mean, if right now while he has the backfield to himself, I mean, he has to be the guy that gets the ball and gets your start on your team if you have him available. Ahmed had a nice little touchdown too.
He did.
I thought it was Mostert. I got really excited when I saw it happen, and then I realized it was Ahmed and not Mostert.
Which means Mostert will probably get hurt on the first play this week.
You watch your goddamn mouth.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
He's on my
Just saying,
team of
knock on
destiny.
wood.
Yeah.
This wooden table here.
On the Packers side of it, really only news of note is Aaron Jones limited with a knee issue. I haven't seen much on what it is, but I do know Aaron Jones. I needed him to get like more than 12 points last week, but not have a monster week of like more than 22. And he fell right in that little gap and sent me on my way to the semifinals in 2 leagues because of it. So
Can you guys answer me how AJ Dillon cleared concussion protocol within 24 hours? They said he cleared concussion protocol today and he cleared it again the next day. Is that
the only thing I can think of The only thing that I can think of is he was put into concussion protocol because of the weird new stuff that the NFL does, but then he didn't show any signs or symptoms going forward. But even then, we've seen that they still take 5 days to clear the protocol. Like they still have to do the protocol.
yeah, you
So
still
it's
have to at least go through a practice to clear the protocol, right? They didn't
so
even
I
have
don't
time to
know.
I feel like you have to do something. And it was like they said he cleared it that night of the game, and by the next day, like they said he had cleared protocol. Like it just seems bizarre to me how
To
that came
me, it
out with what the
almost seems
season.
like he wasn't ever in protocol,
Yeah, so they
and
just wanted to say he did it.
they were. Yeah, I don't.
I think the science shows that his quadriceps absorbed the concussion.
Checks out. That definitely checks out. So
You could put me on record for that.
Yeah.
maybe there's I'll try to get a study going of quad size to concussion healing and see if there's
Has Saquon
relation
ever
there.
had a concussion? That's diagnosed.
Yeah, I think that's the question. Yeah.
Alrighty. We got a few more games here. Let's work our way through them. Broncos versus Rams. Looking like Russ is returning. Does that suck for the Broncos receivers? Like, is this
No,
bad for Judy?
no. I think Russ. I think Russ has found at least a flow. And the answer to the offense is just feed Jerry Judy. Judy's been playing well, and he's been getting a really decent target share. Not the most outstanding yak guy, but I think he's a solid like flex dude on a lot of teams right now.
Yeah, you can do worse than Judy, I think. Sutton, limited participant with his hamstring. Always just makes me nervous with the hamstring issues. And if Sutton's out, that just goes more to Judy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Latavius Murray's looking good for them. Richmond, how do you feel about Latavius?
I think that he's a good start. I mean, he did well for me in a league last week that did not matter at all. I got really excited, then I realized, oh, I lost that anyways. So I think that he's a good start for their team. I mean, he's the owner of that backfield right now of all those random running backs they've collected over the season.
Yeah. It's worth noting that he did pop up in the injury report. He was limited with a foot injury today. But this could just be like an old dude, kind of limited rest day on Wednesday.
Stepped on a Lego.
Yeah, and classic case of the Lego. But he plays on Sunday, so he gets an extra day of rest.
Gotcha. Yeah, that is nice for him. And the Packers and Dolphins are the Sunday game. I think I forgot to mention that. So, and then the Rams, they're just a mess all over the board. I don't think Baker's kind of something. I don't know. I don't feel like there's much to be said about the Rams at this point.
Yeah, we don't
At
talk
one
about
point,
them.
they were like, "What was Baker thinking when he did that?" Have you watched Baker Mayfield play quarterback at all? Like,
Where have you been the last 5 years? Like, that is
like of all
Baker.
the decisions he could have made there, that was the worst one he could have made, or something along those lines. I was like, "That's why he's playing for the Rams currently." Yes,
That is why he went from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams all in one season.
Yeah, sounds a little Zach Wilson-y.
the Rams started a XFL quarterback before they decided to throw Baker back out there. So
Yeah, that's rough.
Oof. Well, last Sunday game is the Buccaneers versus the Cardinals. Cardinals are a mess right now with Kyler out, Colt McCoy's out with a concussion. They're starting Trace McSorley.
Penn Stater.
That
He
can't
does
be
not
good for
look
their
good.
chances.
Yeah, he looks very, very bad. They're not running him, and he was a really prolific runner at Penn State. But he also played with Saquon Barkley, and he's looking like a very terrible option at quarterback. This should be a rout by the Bucs.
Should, but the Bucks aren't very good either.
Bucks are also on the downward slope.
You got to fight fire with fire here. I think the Bucs might have it.
Yeah, I mean they should have it. But they do have Tristan Wirfs out.
Yeah, and that's made a big difference. We talked about it last week in terms of the health of this offensive line, but especially a pro caliber guy of Tristan Wirfs, where Tom Brady is an elite pocket passer, but we saw it a lot in this last game. He's been getting dogged by those D lines, and it resulted in just one sack, but 4 turnovers from Tom Brady. So, if you're going to lose a game, you turn the ball over. That's how you're going to do it. So I think if the Cardinals are going to have any chance at winning this game, they have to get to Tom Brady and take advantage of this O-line.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's their only chance, I think, is possibly a couple defensive scores because offensively not looking good for the Cardinals. And I mean, obviously, I think we're probably concerned about Cardinals pass catchers here.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my redraft league, I've dropped Marquise Brown.
I think that's fair. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins probably still going to get the targets, but just don't expect too much from him.
Trey McBride was okay last
decent.
week. Yeah.
I'm excited for the future there. You're not playing him in any leagues that you're in the semifinals, but
oh god, no. But I think he
the
might
future looks
turn
bright
out.
for him.
Yes. He's sitting there on my dynasty bench just waiting.
That's awesome. All right, last game, Monday night game. Chargers versus Colts. Jonathan Taylor's out for the season now with a high ankle sprain. He's dealt with ankle issues all year. It's been rough. Rough year for Jonathan Taylor and everyone that may have taken him number 1 overall.
As he was the safe pick over Christian McCaffrey.
Well, he never gets hurt.
Yeah, never.
Never until you do. And other news, Colts are making another QB change. Once Matt Ryan's getting benched once again, this time for Nick Foles. So Colts are a mess.
Good for him. Good for Foles.
Now, does Nick Foles throw a 50-yard touchdown but also gets hit and breaks his collarbone on the first play? Richmond, I feel like you know that one.
Yeah. This is actually a great week for former Jaguars quarterbacks.
Wait, who else is there?
Gardner Minshew is about to get started.
Oh, that's right.
Hide
Gardner
your moms.
Minshew. The NFL's better when Gardner Minshew's starting. I'm just saying. I love it. Anyway,
the
that does
mustache, the hair, it's all great.
It's all great. That does it for the games. Guys, did we miss anything?
No, sir.
Before
so.
we get to our flag pants, it's become that time of year again on Twitter where I see a bunch of people complaining about their dynasty leagues having trade deadlines. Guys, what do you feel about that? Should Dynasty League have a trade deadline for the playoffs?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you have to.
Okay.
As
Otherwise, I get people say they should be able to do this, but to the week before the championship game, kind of like sell out to win. I don't know. I feel like that's like you made it to the playoffs, players at that point. I feel weird about like waiting till the last, be like, okay, now I made it to the championship game. I'm going to sell all the draft picks, sell the farm in order to get a couple key pieces to win.
I think people that want to be able to make the trades just aren't good at building depth on their team. Because I mean, let's say I'm making it to the semifinals. I have Jonathan Taylor. I can now probably flip Jonathan Taylor, maybe even straight up for Christian McCaffrey, if the McCaffrey owner didn't make the playoffs or is now out of the playoffs. And now I just add Christian McCaffrey, and I'm just not for it.
Yeah, I think it creates too many sticky situations, too open to collusion situations. Um, I just can't buy into it. I think play with the ones that got you there at that point. You had the whole season to make these deals. If you think you needed better depth, you should have solved that in the regular season.
Gotcha. Eric,
I mean,
you in agreement?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned this from the start of the show. I mean, I think I lost 5 or 10 quarterbacks in my Superflex league. I would love to make a trade right now that my first, my team with a first round bye is actually it's time to play. But I think you're right. Like Richmond, you're the commissioner of our league, and I think you're like totally right on the money with the opportunity to sell out in either direction as a tanking team or a contending team. And it would just, I think it's sort of like it's the rule that should be in play if all human beings had perfectly good will, but that's not life. So there's going to be situations that people get upset at, and you said it, Rich, like if you had all season up until the trade deadline to build your depth and do your thing, and if you're in a tough spot now, then that's a part of the game. You roll the dice.
Yeah.
That being said, if you want that, then fine. There's leagues out there that do it, but we're all very much against it. Good. We can remain
with
friends,
us,
guys.
you're against us.
Yeah.
I see it all over Twitter right now of people complaining about it. And
there are some crazy stories right now on the Dynasty Reddit about
I don't do Reddit
collusion
anymore.
Oh, really?
I can't. It was bad for my blood pressure, bad for my mood. I've deleted Reddit and I've deleted TikTok, and ever since then I've felt like I'm a better person.
Good for you.
Well, I mean, you're over the age of 18, so it's probably good that you deleted TikTok.
You're growing up.
Well, I wasn't really a fan of China stealing my information either.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to do some TikTok dances to end the show?
Yeah.
it's all about the twerking. Anyway, do we got flag plants this week, Richmond?
Yes. As I alluded to earlier, hide your mothers. Gardner Minshew's back in town.
Hey, he's not a Zach Wilson.
He's been living on a bus. I mean, that guy.
Yeah, look, Gardner Minshew. I was sad when the Jaguars let him go. I think that he is still a talented quarterback. He was just listed as questionable this week because they let him go to Mike Leach's funeral to talk. Now he's healthy again that he's back. So I think he's going to have the power of Mike Leach flowing through him and hopefully set it off for the Eagles.
As a Cowboys fan, I kind of hope not, but as someone that is also going to play Gardner Minshew this week, I kind of hope so. So we'll
Yeah, I
see.
think he's got a good shot really at producing, especially with the way that some much worse quarterbacks have produced against that.
I mean, it
defense.
helps when you got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
Goddard's
yeah.
coming back.
yes, Goddard is back this week. Yes, I think that was part of my reason why I was looking at things earlier. That I mean, he has Goddard coming back. He has 2 top wide receivers. Like he just has all the things he needs around him to be successful.
He's got a Brock Purdy setup.
Brock
No
Purdy of the
CMC.
East. Anyway,
Here's your
Eric,
buddy Miles Sanders.
Yeah, my flag plant is someone that I alluded to earlier, Rashid Shaheed, who is the undrafted free agent, 24-year-old rookie in on the Saints roster. So I give you this context so you know exactly who to look for. Rashid Shaheed is by far a sleeper dart throw this week, but I think that he has a good shot at producing. His snap counts have been very solid over the last 3 weeks. His production has increased over the last 3 weeks, and he is a home run hitter. I mean, he can score off of a single rush. He's gotten 1 rush for 44 yards and a touchdown. This guy's a wide receiver. He can also score off of a deep pass, and that's what Andy Dalton can certainly provide. This is an offense that is now devoid of pass attack weapons with Chris Olave on the DMP with his hamstring injury. Troutman, he's also injured. So it's looking like we're getting down to the playmakers of Rashid Shaheed and Juwan Johnson. And I like this matchup against Cleveland. I think that they're a defense that can give up points to the wide receiver position.
That's fair. That's fair. I like it. Well, I talked about him a lot earlier, Tyler Algier. Like I said, Huntley's out now. Do I think he has a week that he did last week? No, but I think a lot of people might be in a tough running back situation right now. And I think you can make a lot worse plays than Tyler Algier this week, and he's shown his upside. And Atlanta does not want Desmond Ritter throwing the ball. So
that's a fact.
Algiers all the way.
Yeah.
And then Patrick, who isn't with us, which would usually mean you would get Devin Duvernay. But with Devin Duvernay going on IR, the Lizard King has crawled out from the gutters, and Sammy Watkins has returned to Baltimore. And so Patrick gets Sammy Watkins.
Yes. If there's anybody out there who's never read the Sammy Watkins Lizard King article, you should look it up.
You definitely should.
Not before bed because it's super creepy.
Also, if you've not read about the Kansas City Chiefs super fan who's apparently a bank robber, also, you should also read that. Yeah, apparently one of their super fans has been playing it up that he has this really good jobs and he's like self-employed and this is how he affords to go to the Chiefs games every weekend. What actually has happened is that he's been robbing banks on his way to the Chiefs away games every week. And that's how he gets his money to afford this. So everybody panicked because he was not at the game this past weekend. It's because he was in jail for robbing a bank. And now I guess if somebody's gone and connected all these dots and been like, there's a bank robbery every weekend, they have away games. Yeah, wild.
That's amazing.
Chiefs. If you've never like looked into the Chiefs super fans, they're insane. Like it's the craziest stories. One of them was somebody who helped the World Trade Center bombers, and he was sent to Kansas City as a witness protection, and he his name's like Helmet Man or something.
Became a super fan,
and he became a super fan, and then all these people found out who he was. And I think like the state of Iran had a fatwa against him where they were trying to kill him, but he was like, "Hey, everybody, here I am, a super fan of the Chiefs." It's insane. It's crazy.
Chiefs super blowing fans. My mind right now. That's incredible. I mean, not that he helped with all that, but Oh my God. Anyway, well, yeah, I don't have anything that can follow that. So, Richmond, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
RP Laterio, DPT, on Twitter is the best place to find me. I say it every week, but you can follow my track, my track coaching there, as well as my physical therapy life. So,
All
pretty
right.
cool place.
Herrick, where can people find you?
All right, I'm the Nighthawk PT. You can find me on Twitter at FF_Nighthawk.
And you can find me. I'm Matt. I'm at Fantasy Ferret on Twitter, where I will defend Amon-Ra St. Brown with my life. So, anyway, thanks for joining in, everyone. Have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is you might be celebrating. Please stay safe and enjoy the holidays. Adios.